And so I think we are now in Ger and Karuna Tilaka lesson 12, initial readings number 3. And this is a reading from the Anguttara Nikaya Book of Threes, Tika Nipata, the 79th sutta called the Ganda Jata Sutta. And so it's a beautiful short sutta, which is a discussion between the Buddha and Venerable Ananda. And we circles around this word Ganda Jata, which is, as I'm sure you know, a combination of the word Ganda, which we have in the very same sentence often, smell or odor, and the suffix Jata, which is a past participle originally of the verb janati or janati, to generate. It often has that sense of being born, generate. And in this compound, Ganda Jata, it seems to add the sense of good, like a good scent, a good smell. And so that's why it's usually translated as something like fragrance or perfume. Yeah. So, let's see, I'll start here. Atako ayasma anando yena bhagava ten upasankami, upasankamitva bhagavantang abhivadetva ekamantang nisidi. Ekamantang nisinoko ayasma anando bhagavantang etad avocha. And so this, I'm sure by now, is looking very familiar to you all. So, Atako then, ayasma anando, the Venerable Ananda, our subject, Yena Bhagava ten upasankame, he went up to the Blessed One, he approached the Blessed One. Having approached our absolutive, and having paid his respects, abhivadetva, to the Blessed One, accusative, bhagavantang, ekang antang nisidi, he sat down to one side. And then ekamantang nisino, past participle, seated to one side. The Venerable Ananda said this to the Blessed One, bhagavantang etadavocha. And his question is, Tini mani bhante ganda jatani yesang anuvatam yeva gando gachati no pativatang. And there seems to be two ideas about how this compound should be spelled or made. Anuvata and eva, or yeva, this liaison y. It seems like it could be this way with the nigahita, or it could be that the ung and the y both get assimilated to the palatal ends, or the nasals, anuvatanyeva. So maybe that could be a reading too. The meaning, of course, is the same. So here, tini gandat jatani. So notice here that the word ganda jata is a neuter noun, here expressed in the plural. There are three perfumes, or these three perfumes or scents. So imani, these, goes with the neuter ganda jatani. And then we can go here to gando, the nominative, the scent of which yesang, right? This is our genitive plural. Gachati goes anu vatanyeva, along with the wind. No pativatang, not against the wind. And so we have our two prefixes here, anu, and pati, along with and against. We see that often with various kinds of words. And so Venerable Ananda continues, Katamani tini, what are the three? So notice that the words here are in the neuter, because they're describing a neuter noun. And the three are Mula Gando, Sara Gando, Pupa Gando. Imaniko Bante Tini Ganda Jatane Yesang Anuvatang Eva Gando Gachati No Pati Vatang. And so what are the three? The scent of roots, the scent of heartwood, and the scent of flowers. So we know that there are these fragrant roots that are made into perfumes, like I think there's vetiver, which is a root, and the root of iris, orris root, and of course many others. Heartwood would be the inside of a tree and flowers. And then, of course, the rest is a repeat. And so then we come now to the question, Atinuko bante kinchi ganda jatang yasa anuvatang pi gando gachiti, pati vatang pi gando gachiti, anuvata pati vatang pi gando gachiti. So here we have our interrogative particle, nu, which tells us this is a question, and the verb to be, there is, or maybe is there, Venerable Sir? And here we have our indefinite pronoun, kinchi. So this would be king plus that particle bit chi, which has that sort of, seems to have that distributive sense. Any. And here, ganda jatang, perfume or fragrance. By the way, what case is ganda jatang here? Can anyone tell us? Anyone at all?
Is it nominative neuter?
Yes, it's nominative neuter. Neuter nominative. Don't be confused by the ang and thinking it's an accusative. It's nominative because it's going with the verb to be, ati, so it's equated. It's also nominative. And notice here we have yasa because we have now a scent or a fragrance, while above we had the plural ganda jatani and we had yesang, the plural. So here in our current sentence we have the singular, of which the scent goes with the wind, the scent goes against the wind, and the scent goes both, so here we have the P, along with and against the wind. So that's the question posed. And the Buddha answers, At Ananda Kinchi Ganda Jatang. Yes, he's basically saying yes, right? The answer is, there is Ananda. And then this is all the same, right? The scent of which goes along with the wind, against the wind, and both along and against the wind. And so, of course, the question Ananda has is, what is that? What is this scent? What is this perfume? So this is the question asked. Katamang chapa panabante. This is, of course, we don't have to even say it because it's the same words again. Right? And then here is sort of the whole point of it. The Buddha gives his more elaborate answer here. Id Ananda yasmin gameva nigameva. So here, yasmin gameva nigameva in whichever village or town, right? These are our locatives. And then in this town, ittiva purisova, a woman or a man, buddhang saranang gato hoti. So here we have this new kind of composed, a tense made up of two words, which is the verb to be with the past participle. Our book, I think, calls this the perfective form, a perfect form. Perfect in the sense that it's an action which has been completed already, has started and has finished in the past. Perfect. So in a village or town where a woman or a man has gone for refuge to the Buddha, Dhammang saranang gato hoti, has gone for refuge to the Dhamma. Sanghang saranang gato hoti, has gone for refuge to the Sangha. And here, panatipata virato hoti, so this is another past participle, is abstaining from, or in this tense, has abstained from, and so from is expressed in the ablative, panatipata, from the destruction of life, and adina dana pativirato hoti, has abstained from taking what has not been given, and kamesu michachara pativirato hoti, and has abstained from misconduct in regard to sensual pleasure or sexual misconduct. And musavada pativirato hoti, has abstained from false speech. And sura merya majja pamadatana pativirato hoti, has abstained from sura merya majja. And so this word is sura plus merya plus majja plus pamada, which we know is heedlessness, and tana, which is like a state. There seems to be perhaps some discussion about what this majja might mean. It could mean perhaps sura, like maybe a certain kind of intoxicant, wine, and merya, maybe liquor, and then the majja could be, it means an intoxicant, but it could mean sort of, and any other intoxicants, or it seems like it could be taken as sort of like the collective term, wine and liquor, the intoxicants that lead to the state of heedlessness. But in either case, I think the sense of it is quite clear. One abstains from these intoxicants because they lead to a state of heedlessness. Furthermore, this woman or a man is silava, virtuous, and kalyana dhammo, of a good nature. So dhamma here as a suffix has the quality or the meaning of nature, and kalyana is good. And we have vigata mala macharena cetasa agarang ajavasati. I think perhaps, I'm afraid, in my original reading I sent that I had skipped this verb. It was just simply omitted, but it should have been there. And how did I translate that? And has dwelt, aorist, in a house, cetasa, with a mind. This would be instrumental. Free, vigata, this would be, I think, a past participle of the stain, mala, and then macharena, of miserliness. So has dwelt at home with a mind free of the stain of miserliness. So any questions up to this in our reading? Who can explain for us this verb, by the way? Ajavasati. What is that? I mean, grammatically. Don't all jump in. I'm going to have to fight you back.
I believe the double J used to be adhi.
Right.
I can't
Adi.
remember the rest. Yes.
And then, well, what would be the verb in the present indicative?
That it doesn't come to mind. Sorry.
I think it would just be adivasati, to dwell in.
Adivasati.
To dwell in. And so we know, if we know that this is the aorist of adivasati, and as you said quite right, aja is what happens when we form this aorist, and then we have this a. So that would be the a augment.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then we have vasati. So that we get ajavasati, right? The past. And then we have accusative, instrumental. Okay. Would somebody like to continue for us? This is rather similar. I should say it seems to be alternate reading, including one more word, which I put here in a square bracket, amanusa, which would be a non-human or a spirit, some sort of not celestial being. I mean, not terrestrial being, some sort of spirit. But who'd like to volunteer to read and translate this bit?
Yeah, I can do that.
Thank you, please.
So, Devata Pisa Amanusa Vanang Basati.
Basanti.
Oh, sorry, yes, Basanti, yes. Asukasming nama game va nigame va iti va puriso va budang saranang gato hoti. Tamang saranang gato hoti. Sangang saranang gato hoti. I stop there for a moment and we'll do that. So now I'm taking this as an ablative. So devata as in from the devas, and then P, and then that's short for asa. So from the devas towards him.
I maybe might take it as just a simple nominative.
Okay, sorry.
The devas, plural, they speak. Basanti.
They speak. Yes.
Vanang, which in this sense has this quality of like praise.
We speak colorfully.
Praise,
yes.
And then asa of one, of that one.
Yeah.
It would be the iti. This would be referring back to the iti or puriso, right?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yes. So the devas, so speak praise of him. Okay. Asukasmin. So that's like there is a certain one by a certain name in a village or a city, a man or a woman.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I realize we've sort of skipped a sentence. We skipped the sentence because it looks the same, but we should. It's my mistake that we should have taken Tassa di Sasu Samana Brahmana Vanang Bas.
Okay, sorry, yes.
It's my fault. Would you mind doing that one?
Okay, so Tassa di Sasu Samana Brahmana Vanang Basati. Okay.
Basanti.
Basanti. Yes, I keep on dropping that. I don't know why. So the so for him And disasu is in this direction, that the Brahmins and ascetics speak praise of him. Okay, and
Yeah.
then
This what case and number is disasu?
disasu. So I would go with, so I would go with its locative plural.
Yes, it would be the feminine long a. It's a feminine long a, disa, in the locative
Yeah,
plural.
in the
So the
locative
sense
plural.
of them, the Brahmins, the ascetics and Brahmins speak praise for them in all the directions.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
what do they say?
Okay. They say so. So what they're saying is, so there is a certain, oh yes, so I think the asu kasming sort of got me for a, so that's, so well that's a locative singular, but I couldn't get the sense of it. So asuka, what that, so I was taking it as there was a certain one by a certain name in the village or the city, a man or a woman.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, it's a little confusing here of this word nama.
mhm.
But in this particular instance, I would take nama purely as a like a word that doesn't mean name. I forget the word of it, like an enhancing word.
Okay.
It's a. Let me show you. It's a little complicated because this word nama can mean so many things. But let's look it up together just so I can show you the word nama, which is a giant entry. Um, if I can find it here. So here, this giant block entry of nama. But here, way down at number 4, emphatic particle as an adverb. Something like indeed, for sure, certainly.
Yeah.
And that's how I would use or translate this nama.
Okay. Yeah. Indeed. Okay. Yeah. Now go back to it there then.
So,
Okay.
yes, as in a sukasming, yes, locative, meaning in such as such.
In such and such. Ah, yeah. So it's in such and such. It not just agrees with game and nigame. Yeah. But they so asukasming. Oh yeah. So nama there. Okay. And then does that even have, and in the case of nama then it's just is evocative then, or
I would just take it as indeclinable.
indeclinable? Yeah, indeclinable. It just means indeed. It's okay. Got it.
Yes, like for sure, in
For
such a
sure. Yeah.
such a village, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Great. So for sure, in such and such a village, there's a man or a woman. Okay, and I have to remember that we're not looking at this sentence that you have highlighted. We're looking at the one above it.
Once again, I've messed up. You're right.
Yeah. So 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 he's gone in. He's gone for refuge in the Buddha. He's gone for refuge in the Dhamma. He's gone for refuge in the Sangha. And and then we're going for paniti pata pati pativirato hoti. So he is abstaining from killing. Adinadana pativirato hoti. He is abstaining from taking that which is not given. Kamesu michachara pativirato hoti. He's abstaining from sexual misconduct. Um, Musavada pativirato hoti. He is abstaining from false speech. Surameria maja pamadatana pativirato hoti. He is abstaining from alcohol, liquor, etc. That leads to states of heedlessness. Silava hoti, kalyana dhammo So he is virtuous, and then Kalyana Dhammo, he is well. So he has the Dhamma well, is it?
Well, here I would take Dhammo not as the Dhamma with a capital D, but rather
Just
as a
of
suffix
good
meaning the
nature.
quality or the nature of.
Yes. So he's of a good nature. Okay, and then that's describing him as a Bahubihi. Got it? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and then Vigata Macharena Chitasa Agarang Ajavasati. So that means so he is dwelling in his house with a mind free from the stain of miserliness.
Yes. Right. Or in the past tense, has dwelt.
Oh, has dwelt. Yes, of course. Yes.
Good. Thank you. And then this next sentence, which we started doing already, not only do the ascetics and Brahmins praise, but also devas and other spirits, perhaps, also extol and give this praise, which is the same praise, right? And then we have this one more sentence. Sarah, would you like to do this next sentence? Idang kotang.
Sure. Idam kotang ananda. Ganda jatang yasa anuvatampi gando gachati pativata vatampi gando gachati anuvata pativatampi gando gachati. So basically, so indeed this Ananda, or this I decided to say Ganda Jata as fragrance.
Yeah.
Because then later they say Gando, so I just said scent. Okay, so indeed this Ananda is that scent of that fragrance of which this scent goes in the direction of the wind, Anuvata, and also against the wind, Pativata. That is a scent that goes both with and against the wind, Anuvata Pativatampi.
Right.
So.
Yeah, so idang is here, indeed here, tang ganda jatang, this fragrance or perfume, the smell of which, right, gando yasa, goes anuvatampi, etc. Along, against, and both along and against the wind. This is the smell that is much better than flowers, I guess. And then we have our short, beautiful little verse, which also appears, as you may know, in the Dhammapada. It's the 54th verse in the Dhammapada as well. So, napupangando pativatang eti, na chandang tagara malikava, satancha gando pativatang eti, sabadisa sapuriso pavayati ti. So, here, the fragrance of flowers does not go, na eti, so this is our other verb to go, eti, does not go against the wind. Nor chandang, which I think is sandalwood, tagara, which is some sort of fragrant root. I don't know if there's a translation of that. Or jasmine. So, of course, we have flowers and wood and roots here too. So now here, this is the tricky bit, which I had to sort of rely on help of commentary to help me. Satancha gando pativatang eti. So here I would take the cha as a but, as we often do in verse, not and, but the scent or the odor or the smell, this, and then here satang, I would take this as it seems like this should be taken as a short form of the genitive satanang, like this, which, so we know that the word for a good person is the past participle of ati, right? We've had that in the book. And so, or the present participle of ati, sato, or santo. And here, so it would be the fragrance of good people. So genitive plural. Satanang. It's shortened for the meter. So here, the scent of good people, genitive plural, goes against the wind, and then sabadisa sapuriso, a good person, fragrance, it would have to be, or, well, here the word pavayati has the sense to perfume or spread out. I think the sense would be the perfume. So a good person scents in all directions. A little tricky because of this compression. Let me read you Norman's translation from the Dhammapada. The smell of flowers does not go against the wind, nor, he has in brackets, the smell of jasmine, nor incense, nor sandalwood. But the smell of the good does go against the wind. A good man perfumes all directions. So here he's taking satang as the good, maybe more as an abstract thing rather than a person. I translated as the smell of good people, of good ones. But here he has the smell of the good does go against the wind. A good man, sapuriso, perfumes, pavayati, sabadisa, all directions.
Stephen,
yes.
could you repeat? You said satang is the shortened form of the genitive present participle?
Yes,
Did I get that correct?
So.
Okay.
Genitive plural.
Genitive plural of the present participle. Okay.
Of ati.
Ati. Okay,
I think we can find that in, well, we can find this explanation of satta, santo, on page 84 of our textbook. Santo, virtuous person. Historically, sant is the present participle of ati, and still appears in Pali in the sense existing, as well in the specialized sense of a virtuous person. Thus, the meanings must be distinguished from context. And I think in this context, it's a virtuous person, santo. But here it would be, I guess, santanam. But it gets sort of altered because of the meter. That's how I understood it from the commentary, or at least from K.R. Norman's explanation. Okay, maybe we can go on then to a bit of the Rasa Vahani. I believe this also appears in the Dhammapada commentary. So, Savatyang Adina Publico Nama Brahmano Ahosi. So here, once again, we have the word nama, but in this context, I would definitely take it in the sense of named. like name. So this word nama can mean so many things, but in here, called or named. So here, there was a Brahmin, right? Brahmin is the subject here, named Adina Pubiko in Savati. Savatiyang, locative. And we know that his name itself, which was, I guess, more of a nickname than maybe his real name, has the sense of one who has not given before, right? Adina Pubika. In other words, he's very miserly, does not give anything. Okay. Tena kasachi kinchi na dina pubang. So by him, Tena, then we have here of these two what are they called? These distributive kind of pronouns. So he na dina pubang, he never gave before kinchi, anything, kasachi, to anyone. Or there was nothing ever given to anyone ever by him. Yeah. Tassa eko va puto ahosi pio manapo. So he had, that would be literally, let's translate it, there was a son, one son for him, literally, because this is the genitive of him, for him. But we can say he had a son, and that son is described as pio and manapo, maybe dear and delightful, dear and lovely. And what happens? Brahmano putasa pilandanang datu kamo. Maybe we'll stop there. So here, the Brahmin, and then who can explain for us this word datu kamo? What is this word?
Try.
Okay.
I think that's the kamo there is desiring to give, datu, desiring to give to his son.
Right. So I would take this as, this is based on the root da, and we have the verb dadati, which is just the doubled form of the root, or dati. This would be, I think, the infinitive, datung, and joined in a sandhi with kama, so desiring, present participle, to give. And then what kind of compound is it, Diane?
I have no clue. So I will guess.
Well, okay.
Taparisa,
Why would you guess that one?
because it's a relationship of the two words.
Yeah, but is this word functioning as an adjective? And if it is, what might it be modifying or describing?
Well, if it's describing him, then it's as one desiring to give, then it is the bahubihi.
That's how I would take it. I would take it as a bahubihi describing Brahmano, datu kamo. And notice that it matches, of course, in the nominative singular. So the Brahmin having a desire to give, that's how I would translate this, these two words. Again, datu kamo, having a desire to give. And then the object of that is pilana danang, which is translated as an ornament, some sort of object. Putasa, to his son. So again, the Brahmin having a desire to give an ornament to his son. And then here, this is a thought bubble, right? With the T, so we can use these helping words like thought or had the idea. And what is his idea? Sache suvana karasa achikisami vetanang databang bhavisati. So, sache is if. And then we have this verb akichati, which has the literal sense. How did I write it? Has the sort of standard sense of to describe or explain. But here I would maybe use something like ask or request. And it's in the future first person singular, right? If I will ask this of, and then suvana karasa, dative probably, or genitive, a gold maker, literally, but we would probably translate this as a goldsmith. So were I to ask a goldsmith, vetanang databang bhavisati, there will be payment, vetanang, to be given. Right? So here, bhavisati is our verb to be in the future. There will be. Dat tabang, we recognize our taba suffix as our future passive participle. To be given. And then the object of the bhavisati would be vetanang. There will be payment. So in other words, he's saying, as a miserly person, but if I ask a goldsmith to make this pila danang, I'll have to pay him. And so what does he decide to do? Well, sayang eva suvanang kot eva, kotetva. So here this absolutive, having made, or maybe even having beaten the gold himself, right? Or having worked the gold himself, and then matani kundalani katva, another absolutive here, katva, having made kundalani, this would be earrings, neuter accusative plural, and which are described with the adjective matani, also matching in the neuter, shiny, something like that, or polished. Adasi, another aorist, he gave them. So I would take this piece of sentence in these three parts. Having worked the gold himself, and having made polished earrings, he gave them. And then our next piece, ten asa puto mata kundali ti panyai. So here, panyai is actually the passive form of the verb pajanati. So he was known. This is in the aorist. And so the son, Puto, was known with this name, Mata Kundali, polished earrings, and then for him. So then, for him, he was known, the son was known as Mata Kundali. Any questions so far?
I have a question. Sorry, I didn't raise my hand, but I didn't quite finish writing it out. So I think it's grammar point 5.3 uses the future bhavisati when it accompanies a future passive participle.
Mm-hmm.
It has a sense of it has to be, it must be done that way. But my question was, does the doer have to be an instrumental? I have that written down and I hadn't had a chance to verify why, because I don't remember why I wrote that down. So do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm looking at it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, the future passive participle plus bhavisati gives a sense that the action should be or must be done. I translate it as will be, but I guess we could probably modify that to be there will have to be payment given. But the subject here is way at the... I'm not even sure what the subject of the whole giant sentence is the Brahman. So I'm not sure how that would apply to the sentence. Did you have an idea about that?
I did not. And in the grammar, it says the subject would be an instrumental, whether the verb is transitive or intransitive, but I didn't see the subject in instrumental.
It doesn't seem to be expressed
No.
here. No.
I don't know.
No.
Okay. Mystery.
No, I don't see that example perfectly applied here, but that was a good point to point out this piece of grammar. Dat tabang bhavisati. Okay. Tassa solasa vasakale pandu rogo udapadi. So here, pandu rogo is translated as jaundice, a type of disease. Rogo is disease. The word pandu is the word or a word for yellow, I think. Yellow or yellow-white. And then, but it makes sense because in English, the word jaundice has the word yellow in that kind of Latin root. Like, for instance, in French, the word for yellow is jaune. And in Italian, it's giallo. So jaundice, yellow disease. And then here, this is a locative. So solasa is 16. Vasa is year. And then kala, time. So in the 16th year time for him, Tassa, jaundice arose. Right? Or, yeah, jaundice arose for him, or jaundice happened for him at 16 years of age. Brahmano vejanang santikang gantva. The Brahmin, gantva, having gone to nearby santikang doctors. What case is vejanang?
Genitive.
Probably dative.
Yeah, dative plural. Two doctors. Right? Anang, dative plural. Having gone to the nearby doctors, and then he asked, Puchi, aurist, Tu me asuka rogasa king besajang karota. So tu me is, of course, the you, all of you. And then it's going with karota. So do you, what, so do you, and then what, king, what do you all make? And then what medicine, besajang, for this kind of disease? Asuka is such and such. Roga is disease for such and such, for this type of disease, in other words. So he asked the question, what medicine do you all make for this kind of disease? And he asked. The answer, Te asa yangva tangva ruka tachading achikingsu. So they, that would be the doctors, right? And then here, achikingsu in the aorist, this would be maybe advised or explain asa, to him, youngva, tungva, this or that perhaps, such and such, ruka touch ading. And what is ruka touch ading? Can somebody explain this word?
I can, oh, someone else.
Sorry. Yeah, we should pass it. So sorry about that. Leaves of a tree is what it is.
Yeah, well, ruka is tree, and tacho, we have this word tacho more commonly perhaps for the word skin when we do our parts of the body. But the skin of a tree is really the bark, I would say,
Okay, yes.
not the leaf. And what's ading?
It's etc.
Etc., that famous weird etc. and so forth. So they advised him about this and that kind of tree bark. Sarah, you have a question?
That was a mistake. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. So this is what they told him. And then so, meaning he, meaning the Brahmin, aharitva, having brought them, having got tongue, them, besajang kari, made the medicine. Yeah? Okay. Tata karontas eva tasa rogo balava hosi. And so here, tata karontas eva, I would take it as a genitive absolute, because here we have this somewhat unusual karontasa, right? Which I would take it as a genitive present participle of karoti. Karoti, karonta, karonto, here karontasa, for him. And so, and then the word tata, and I think our grammatical point 4 explains this type of genitive absolute, and it has the sense of in spite of, even though, although. So karontasa means, him, for him making it. That would be our genitive form of karoti. Despite him making it, then here, tasa rogo balava hosi. The disease, rogo, was balava, strong or severe, tasa, for him. And this tasa, I would assume, goes with the son, not the doctor, right? The disease was severe for him, despite the making of the medicine. Is that clear? Sarah?
I do have a question, and I lost credibility by randomly clicking on the wrong button. But I do want to go back to the previous paragraph with a question. So if you want to finish this paragraph first, I don't want to interrupt your flow. So
okay. Let's try to finish this two more sentences.
Yeah.
Brahmano tasa dubala bhavang nyatva ekang vejang pakosi. So the Brahman, nyatva, having known, having understood, dubala bhavang. So here, du would be bad, or the bala is the strength, and bhavang would be the nature. So something like having understood, how did I translate it? Understanding his weak state. So tasa would be, again, of him, meaning the sick son. So the Brahman, of understanding the weak state of him, the son, ekang vejang pakosi. He, the Brahmin, summoned a doctor. Okay. Then, so tang oloketva, he, this would be the doctor. Now, these pronouns can be confusing, but here I would take this so as the doctor. Tang oloketva, having looked at Tang, him meaning the patient or the sick son. And then what does this doctor say? Amhakang ekang kichang ati. So for us, there is one specialty, purpose, function, or maybe there is one specialty for us. Anyang vejang pakositva, summon another doctor, and then tikicha pehi ti vadva nikame. So here, this word tikicha pehi, I've glossed it at the bottom of my sheet here. This is the verb tikichati, which is to cure, in the causative form, which plugs in this ape infix, and it's in the imperative form, ehi. So make him cure. So this is what the doctor says. For us, but it seems like he's referring to himself in the plural, we have one specialty. Summon another doctor and make him cure him. Having said this, vadva, nikami, he left. So he wasn't able to help. Sarah, what was your question, please?
Yes, in the previous paragraph, I think it's the second sentence, te asa yamva tamva. Did you take the asa, I didn't follow you, as the pronoun? Or did you think it was optative, ati?
Te asa yangva. So here I took te as the doctors, right? Yeah. Nominative. Achi kingsu, verb. And I said that is explained. Asa, to him.
To him, okay.
Meaning the Brahmin. Yeah.
Okay, thank
you. They
you.
explained to him such and such tree bark, basically, roughly. Okay. Any other questions on these two big paragraphs? Is this confusing? I hope this is clear. Okay, and finally, our plot gets a little sad. Brahmano tassa marana sam ayang nyatva. So the Brahmin, having known unfortunately, the death occasion, literally, or the dying of him, meaning the son. And then he has this interesting, unpleasant thought bubble, right? Imasa dasan ataya agata antogehi sapateyang pasisanti. So here, I have translated the Brahmin, knowing it was his son's time of death, thought, right? I put the thought because of this thought bubble. So from their seeing, right? For the purpose of their seeing, this would be dative. For the purpose of their seeing, coming and going, agata, inside the house, antogehi, they will see pasisanti, the wealth, or they will see the wealth or maybe I should have put the antogehi here. They will see the wealth inside this house. So again, I translated it as from their coming and going, And then I put literally, for the purpose of their looking. That would be this green piece. Imasa dasan ataya. They will see the wealth inside the house. Or in other words, they'll see how much expensive stuff we have, right? Tasma, therefore, nung bahi karisami. I will bring him outside. Literally, I will make him outside. And then I would make a full stop here probably. Putang niharitva bahi alinde nipajapesi. So having taken his son outside, putang niharitva bahi, he laid him down on the veranda, right? Sort of the porch of the house, maybe. So this would be, the sense of it is, I think, that since this boy is dying, there will be people that would like to come to pay their final respects. And what this Brahmin is concerned about is people coming and going in the house and eyeing all his expensive belongings. Yeah? Tasming kala kate brahmano tasa sarirang japetva. So, at the time of his death, tasming kala kate, the Brahmin had his body cremated. Jahapetva sarirang tasa, had his body cremated. Devasikang alhanang gantva. So, having gone to the cremation ground, devasikang, daily, adverbial, accusative, rodi, he cried, kahang ekaputaka, kahang ekaputaka, where is my one son? Where is my one son? So that's how I understand it. It's a little bit complicated. Are there any questions about this? Things I didn't explain particularly well?
You explained it perfectly well. But with putaka, because usually I see like puta, is putaka more like a diminutive, like my little son or my dear son?
Yeah,
like that?
Exactly.
Okay.
I wouldn't, sometimes the ka, I think in last week we had it as diminutive but insulting, but not,
Right.
I would take it here more like, oh, my little boy, my one little boy.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. No other questions? Then maybe we can go on? Okay. We'll go on. We'll go on to the pièce de résistance. The big sutta we've been building up for. The Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, right? This is the big one. This is the famous one. This is said to be the Buddha's very first teaching. And it is found in the Samyutta Nikaya, the final Samyutta, number 11. And it is also found together with more contextual sort of plot and other suttas in the Mahavagga of the Vinaya Pitaka. And that's a great place to read it too. So here the word Dhammacakkappavattana. So Dhamma is the Dhamma here. Chakka is a wheel. And Pavattana, notice this interesting double P. This would probably be a suppressed sort of Sanskrit kind of word. And the root would be vrit, to turn, which is probably related to the word in English vortex. But here it has the sense of turning the wheel of Dhamma. Right? Because the idea is that before this sutta, before this teaching, the world was ignorant of Dhamma, and when the Buddha delivered this very teaching, Dhamma was then made in the world once again. Sort of the wheel started rolling. So that's pavatana, I think would be based on the verb pavatati, which probably in Sanskrit would be more like pravatati. So we have this 2 M's, 2 K's, and 2 P's, and 2 T's. Sometimes a challenging word to spell. Okay, so let's start. Evang me sutang. Ekang samayang bhagava bharanasiyang viharati isipatane migadaye. Thus I have heard. On one occasion, the Blessed One was dwelling at Varanasi, or Varanasi, and he is also described as dwelling in Isipatana, and Migadaye, the deer park. And so Isipatana is also known today as Sarnath. It is one of the major pilgrimage sites. And I had always thought that the word itself, Isipatana, was made up of the word isi, which is the Pali form of the Sanskrit word rishi, which is a sage, plus the participle patana, which is based on the verb patati, so to go down. So it was like the places where the sages descended to. But then I was told perhaps that's a fanciful etymology. I don't really know. But this is commonly thought to be maybe how Isipatana is formed. It doesn't really matter for our purposes. It's a real place. Tatrako Bhagava Panchavagye Bhikkhu Amantesi. So here, then, the Blessed One, Amantesi, addressed aorist, and here Bhikkhu, accusative, plural, the bhikkhus, and which bhikkhus? The famous Panchavagye, the group of 5. Right? So we all know the word vaga, which can mean division or part. It also can mean a collection or a group, and the group of 5. So this would be, of course, the group of 5, which he knew prior to his enlightenment, and then sought out subsequently. So we've skipped a lot of plot, right? Somehow he's become enlightened, he's been asked to teach Dhamma, and after kind of not wanting to, he decides he does, and then he thinks, to whom should I do it? And he comes up with some answers, but not the group of 5 first. It turns out, unfortunately, those people have died, and so then he hits upon the idea of the group of 5. Okay. And so here we have the teaching proper, and it starts, Dve me bhikkhave anta pabajitena na sevitaba. So here, ime, dve me should be understood as these 2, ime, anta, which literally means end, but the far end would be an extreme end, so we would translate this as an extreme. Na sevitaba. So here a future passive participle, we recognize this taba suffix, should not be practiced. The verb is sevati, which I guess has the literal sense of to serve, but it's really to practice. And na sevitaba, pabajitena, by renunciates, right? Pabajita. So those who have gone forth, or those who have renounced. I guess that would be better, because at this point there were no Buddhists or bhikkhus. No one had gone for refuge yet, really. Ted, do you have a question?
Yes, Stephen. I just want to check Panchavagye. Is that ablative from the group of 5?
No, I would take it as accusative plural.
Okay.
Adjectivally with bhikkhu.
Accusative plural. Okay.
Yeah. He's addressing these bhikkhus and these bhikkhus that are described with the adjective panchavagye,
Oh, thank you.
accusative plural. So these two extremes should not be practiced by one who has renounced, maybe we can say, kattame dve. So notice here the interrogative pronoun, kattama, is in the plural because we're talking about anta, two extremes. And then yo chayang kamesu kama sukali kanu yogo. So here we have a double pronoun, yo ayang, which probably has somewhat of an emphatic quality to it. The cha here, we should understand chayang as made of cha, the word and, which is really here because there's another thing coming up, and this cha gets reflected back here, but we don't in English translate it in this position, plus ayang, this. So that this double pronoun for the emphatic reason. And what is this yog I am going with? It's going with kamasukali kanu yogo. So anu yogo has the meaning of pursuit, or the practice, the doing. And then kama is sensual, right? Or sensuality, but here sensual. And then sukha is happiness. And then we have this interesting piece, which I don't quite understand. I'm not sure if anyone actually does, alika. Why is it sukhalika and not just sukha? I don't really know. I've seen this referred to as a mugandism. So in other words, some sort of remnant piece of word that doesn't quite fit into the Pali language. I think that this little piece of word only occurs in this context, and so we don't really have to worry about it. So it would be the pursuit of sensual happiness, and then kame su, locative, in regard to or in sensual pleasure, kama. So the pursuit of sensual happiness in regard to sensual pleasure. And now this word, this compound, is described with a series of adjectives. Hino, which is low, which is the word we see to make that word Hinayana, which is somewhat of a insult word. Yana means vehicle, and so that's sometimes translated as the lesser vehicle, in contrast to the Mahayana, the great vehicle. It's not really a school of practitioners. It was just sort of a insulting term, I think. But Hino means low. Gammo is related to Gama, the village. So of the village, but here in a bad sense, sort of vulgar, like streetwise. Potu janiko. So here, this adjective, we can see it's based on the noun putujana, right? But since it's made into an adjective it's made using this ika suffix, the u, which is originally in putujana, is strengthened to the o. And that's often what happens when things are made into adjectives. The vowel gets strengthened. So that's why it's potujaniko. Unario, not noble. Unutta sanghito. So here, not connected with benefit. Atta, not connected with benefit. And, so here is our cha, yo chayang, atta kilamata anu yogo. So here it is the pursuit of atta, self-kilamata, torture, or self-mortification. That's the second extreme. And this extreme is described as dukkho, painful, anario, not noble, and again, anatta sanghito, not connected with benefit. Any questions so far? Okay. And then he goes on to say, ete, I think sometimes there's a te also here at some readings. Ete ko bhikkhave ubo ante anupagama. So, anupagama is a absolutive, upagachati, negated, not having gone to. Ubo is both. Anta here, accusative now, plural. Not having gone to, and then ete, probably, not having gone to both of these extremes, O monks. The middle path, here we have the famous middle path, the Majjhima Patipada. So notice that the word Patipada, or way, maybe we should translate it as way because we're going to have a Magga later, which is also path. So and it is a feminine noun. So notice that Majjhima has to match it in the feminine gender as an adjective. The middle way, abhisambuddha. So this is a past participle of abhisambujjati. So, and it's passive, fully realized by the Tathagata. And so notice that the Buddha talks, when he speaks, he refers to himself as the Tathagata. So the middle path, fully realized by the Tathagata, instrumental. Yeah. And then here we have Chakku Karani. So Karani has the sense of, I think it's an adjective, making or giving rise to Chakku. Of course, it doesn't give rise to more eyes. It gives rise to vision, seeing. Gives rise to jnana, knowledge. And then we have a series that go with Sangvatati and leads to upasamaya, peace, leads to abhinyaya, leads to direct knowledge, and leads to sambodhaya, enlightenment, and leads to nibbana, nibbana. Of course, these four are dative because the verb sangvatati takes the dative. Okay. Would somebody like to continue?
I can try that.
Okay.
Katamachasa bhikkhave Majjhima Patipada Tathagatena Abhisambuddha. I'll stop there. But the Katamachasa is, and what is this, O monks, bhikkhave? What is this Majjhima, middle way or middle path? Abhisambuddha, realized by the Tathagata.
Yes. Notice that these words katama and sa are both feminine because they are describing patipada, the feminine word for way or path. And also, of course, the adjective majjhima. Good. Please continue.
So the Chakku Karani, Jnana Karani, Upas, is it? I used makes vision, and makes knowledge, or you could produces vision, produces knowledge.
Yes.
Samvatati leads to the upasmaya, peace, abhinyaya, direct knowledge, sambodhaya, enlightenment, and nibbanaya, nibbana.
Good. Tet, do you have a question, please?
Yes, Stephen. I mean, this text is very, very familiar as a Buddhist, but that is why I need to make sure I understand correctly. I just want to check with you. Chakku karani, jnana karani, they will be adjectival in the sense to Majjhima Patipada.
Yes, right. Yeah, I would take them as feminine adjectives describing patipada, Majjhima Patipada. Right. Exactly. Thank you. That's a good question, and I should have mentioned that. Diane, would you continue a bit?
Ayam eva aryo atangiko mago theyatidang. Samaditi, samasankapo, samawacha, samakamanto, samaajivo, samavayamo, samasati, samasamadhi. So ayameva, just this Aryo noble atangiko, eight-factored or eightfold Mago path. That is to say, right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration.
Right. So here, this Eva, this very noble eightfold path. An eightfold, what kind of compound would you say that is, Diane?
Oh, let's see. Is that a Bahu Bihi too? Because
I would say yes. Why?
well, because it's describing the path.
As
It's
an adjective.
Describing Mago.
And it's made up of what? Two pieces.
Atan and Angiko.
Well, atta, which would be the number 8, and anga, which is factor or constituent part, 8 factored, literally, as an adjective.
I missed the ango.
Yeah, anga. Angika. Anga is a part or a factor.
Part. And
right.
I missed that. Anga.
Okay. All right. So then the next sentence, of course, is a repeat. We know this. And then maybe we can do one more or sentence. Can we have a volunteer for Idang Kopana? Ted, would you like to try?
Okay, thank you. Idam Kopana Bhikkhave Dukkham Ariya Sajjam Jatipi Dukkha Jarapi Dukkha Vyadipi Dukkho Maranapi Dukkham Apihi Sambayogo Dukkho Piyahi Pipayogo Dukkho Yampichan Nalapati Dampi Dukkham Sankhedena Panchupada Nakhanda Dukkha. So I will go Idam Dukkham Ariya Sajjam. So this is the noble truth of suffering.
Right. What gender are we using here? What gender is this?
This is neuter, Satchang.
Right, exactly. Satchang is neuter, and so idang and dukkang both match.
Yes.
Yes, and so, okay, now let's look at jatipi dukkha.
Jatipi dukkha, the birth is suffering. So here, looking at dukkha, I would say jati is feminine.
Yes.
Jarapi dukkha, same. The aging is suffering. Vyadipi dukkho, vyadi, the senility is suffering.
Yeah, or maybe sometimes it's translated as illness,
Illness.
sickness. And it seems like there's a difference of opinion whether it's Vyadi or Vyadi, depending if you're Burmese or Sri Lankan, perhaps. And it seems to be a masculine noun, so it should be Duko, right? But by the way, let me ask you an interesting question. What kind of compound do you think Arya Satchang is?
Arya Satchan. Ah, Arya Satchan. Arya Satchan.
It's not a definite answer. It seems to be, it could be two choices. It could be a Kamadarya compound, meaning that Arya is an adjective that describes truth, noble truth. But it could also be a genitive Tapurisa compound, the truth of the nobles. In other words, the truth that the noble ones know. And it seems somewhat ambiguous and probably could be either. So there's not maybe one definite answer, you see. And then how about Maranang Pidukang?
Paranampi Dukkha. Death is suffering. Death as well is suffering. Here is also neuter.
Yes.
Apiyehi is with Apiyehi Sampayogo. Apiyehi is with those you don't like. Sampayogo, some is like together. Ayogo, going together, getting together with people you don't like is also suffering. Sorry, my English might not fit neatly.
Yeah, so association, sampayogo, with apiyehi, which with those who are not dear, right? This is the negation. And so the pia here, meaning dear people, I think, has that sense. So association with ones who are not dear to us is dukkha. And then vipayogo, disassociation or separation from those with those who are dear to us is dukkha too, right?
And then Yampichan, this one, Yam is like Yang Ichan, Yampi Ichan. So this one is desired. Nalapati, you don't get it.
Yeah.
That
So-
as well.
Right. So nalabati, not to get, not to obtain that which ichang, one desires or is desired, that too is suffering. Tang pi dukkang, right?
And then,
then-
Sankirtina by synopsis, Panchupada Nakanda Dukkha. Three parts in Panchupada Nakanda. Pancha Upadana Kanda. So Pancha is 5, Upadana Kanda, objects of Upadan, clinging.
Yeah, upadhana.
Upadana is also suffering.
Yeah. And notice that it's a plural because there are 5, and so dukkha becomes a plural. Sankitena, which we often translate it as in brief, or in short, or in summary, is, I guess, originally instrumental, but I think it has more of an indeclinable quality. And the word upadhana, a fundamental word, can you explain the word upadhana, how that works etymologically, the meaning of it?
I'm afraid.
Well, there's the verb dadati, right, or da, and then we have the negated form adadati, and to take up, to take, right? So one is to give, one is to take, adadati is to take, and upa has the actual sense of up. So it has that literal sense of taking up. But we usually translate upadana as either grasping or clinging. It's, of course, one of the 12 pieces of dependent origination. Tanha pachaya upadana. And so the question, of course, is, well, what's the difference between a kanda and an upadana kanda? And it just so happens that Venerable Bodhi gave a class yesterday, which some of the people here were there too, so I hope they're not overly bored. But he said, well, the best way to explain this is to quickly look at a different sutta. And so I have that here to look at very quickly to explain what precisely is an upadana kanda. And I hope you can see it. So he said, what you should look at, and of course I do what Bhante tells me to, of course, is Samyutta Nikaya 22nd Samyutta, which is the Kanda Samyutta, and the 48th Sutta, which is the Kanda Sutta. And so I thought we'd look at that very quickly, just so we have the answer here before we go any further. I'll just translate very quickly here. I'm sure you can read this too now. At Savati Nidanang, Pancha Bhikkhave Kande Desesami, I will teach monks the 5 aggregates. Right? Notice here that Kande is accusative plural. And the Panch Upadana Kande, Tang Sunata. Listen to that. Listen to this. Katamecha Bhikkhave Pancha Kanda. And what, O monks, are the 5 aggregates? And here he gives the standard 11 descriptive terms. Whatever, young kinchi, O monks, whatever form, because he's taking it one aggregate at a time. And here are the 11. Atita anagata pachupanang, in the past, in the future, or the present. Ajatang va bhadyava, internal or external. Or larikang va sukkumang, gross or subtle. Hinang va panitang va, so here's hina again, low or great. Young dure santikeva, that are far or nearby. This is called the kanda of rupa, right? This is called the form aggregate. And then, of course, he goes through the other 4. Ya kachi vedana, ya kachi sanya, ya kechi sankara, yang kinchi vinyanang. And so then, ime vuchanti bhikkhave pancha kanda. These are called the 5 aggregates. And now, Katamecha bhikkhave panch upadana kanda. And what, O monks, are the 5 clinging aggregates, or the 5 aggregates subject to clinging? And then he goes through the same 11, of course. Yang kinchi bhikkhave rupang, whatever form, O monks. And he goes on. And then, yang dure santekeva, here, this is the key. Sasavang upadaniyang. So Sasavang is not actually my name, Sasavang, but rather it's Sa Asava, with the asavas, with the taints, and upadaniyang, clung to. This is the adjective form of upadana. So whatever form which is with taints, with asavas, and clung to, this is called the Rup Upadana Kanda, the form aggregate subject to clinging. So that is the answer to that. And I think we should stop here. And we will complete this sutta next week, I think. Oh, I wanted to show you one more thing quickly. Sorry. I'm sorry we're going a little over. But I've put in mine, and you should know that, and I sent you out this handy dandy little diagram of the 3 ways and the 12 modes that the Buddha describes himself understanding things, the truth, the task, and the realization. So you should have this. And I've broken it up here. So the T Parivata, and the 3 are always described as Satya Jnana, the knowledge of the truth, the knowledge, and Kicha Jnana, the knowledge of the task, and Kata Jnana, the knowledge that the task has been done. And so there's the 4 truths, and each one has its 3 ways. And so we'll look at that all tomorrow, next week. Okay. Are there any final questions? Then I appreciate your attention and attendance very much. And I hope to see you all next week. It's wonderful to have you with us again, Tet. Thank you for coming. Okay. Thank you. See you all next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Stephen.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.